As a group, reflect on the conversation you've just had. What was it like being on the treasure hunt? Did you discover what your partner cares about? How do you know? Do you often have conversations like this? I'd suggest that most people don't. Traditionally, when we consult with the community with a view of finding a solution, we usually already know what the answer is. We often lead with an answer to a need, and that answer usually is some sort of service. A new way of working is to lead with a question, to discover what people care enough about to act, and then we mobilise assets to build community. Let's take an example. The issue is social isolation of an older person. In a traditional model, the answer is often a day program or activity group funded by the government with clear entry criteria and describable activities, a service. Another way is to ask older people what's important to them. How would they like to connect to a community? Do they care about young people, croquet, music, tai chi, the environment or storytelling? What assets have we got then we can use to assist older people to contribute and participate? As we've been saying, learning conversations help us to discover what people care about. You must first be able to imagine it before you can do it. I had a learning conversation with Rhonda Held about what a great life for older people could look like.
Imagine an Australian community where older people are really valued and included in community life, where they're enabled to maintain their health and independence and are able to contribute their talents and wisdom and pursue their interests. Imagine that all older people can nurture and sustain important relationships, can maintain their culture and spirituality, and really be in control of their future. Imagine if those who need support can actually receive it with dignity and respect and not have their autonomy taken away. How would we bring this about? In human services today, we often ask the question, how do we best support older people? But rarely the alternative question, how do we encourage older people's contribution to the community? We ask, how do we best assess older people's problems? Rather than asking, how do we identify the strengths and abilities of older people, and how do we match those with the assets in our community? We grapple with how to support isolated older people, rather than asking, what are the passions of older people, and where is the energy that sustains those passions, that requires our attention and nourishment to benefit our whole community? Or alternatively, what is the knowledge and wisdom of older people we do not yet know about, and the benefits of which our community can't live without? Instead of allowing my own fears and ideas about ageing to disengage me from embracing older people and embracing the ageing process, I could ask, who are my role models that really excite me about the wisdom and skills that I can develop as I grow older?
I think often we don't spend enough time thinking about the questions. We jump straight into the answers. Einstein said, the answers are easy, the hard bit is finding the right question. I wonder if the question for us is, what's life-giving for older people? I think we need to have a whole new set of learning conversations. Instead of asking, how do we support older people, we should want to know, how do we support older people's contribution to the community? Instead of how do we access older people's problems, it may be more fruitful to ask, how do we match the assets of older people with the assets of the community? Instead of asking, how do we support isolated older people, we could ask the question, what are the passions of older people? And where's the energy that sustains that passion, that requires our attention and nourishment to benefit our whole community? Many education programs for people who support older people ask this question, how do my own fears and ideas about ageing disengage me from embracing older people and the ageing process? A more powerful question is, what is the knowledge and wisdom of older people we do not yet know about, and the benefits of which our community cannot live without? Take some time now to reflect on these questions.
Humans are capable of a unique trick, creating realities by first imagining them, by experiencing them in their minds. As soon as we sense the possibility of a more desirable world, we begin to behave differently, as though that world is starting to come into existence, as though, in our mind's eye, we are already there. The dream becomes an invisible force which pulls us forward. By this process, it begins to come true. The act of imagining somehow makes it real, and what is possible in art becomes thinkable in life.
We need to be able to imagine how we can bring about what we care about into existence. Care is a fundamental driver for creating hopeful futures. Mike Green says all communities are filled with care.
Care remains invisible unless you have conversations about what people care about. People may not care about what you want them to care about. Care must be discovered through relationships that are built on purpose. Learning conversations are the way to build relationships that make care visible. There is no power for change like a community discovering what it cares about.
If there's anyone in the group who's good at numbers, can you check my maths? If one person spent one day having a conversation to two people about what they could create, it'd be 1 plus 2, so 3, yeah? If the next day two people had a conversation with two different people, it'd be 1 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2, and so forth. And then in 10 days, 2,047 people would be having a conversation. In 15 days, 65,535 people would be having a conversation. In 20 days, 21 million people, the same number as the Australian population, would be having a conversation. Imagine if the whole Australian community was having a conversation about what's life-giving for older people. See you at the next session.